What's up, YouTube? Hope you guys been out there building shit. Believe in what God gave you, taking on new projects, building, fixing, creating, doing art. Whatever it might be, guys. Find your strengths, find your blessings, pass them on to this world. Like hearing that kind of message, hit like and subscribe. So, today, I'm going to be installing this Facet Duralift pump, diesel pump, in my International with 7.3 IDI. So let's go on outside and check it out. Alrighty, YouTube. So to get started with this project, we've got the electric Facet Duralift pump. We've got a wiring kit for a 30 amp relay. We've got the big block Chevy fuel pump block off. Yes, I just said big block Chevy. It also fits the 7.3 IDI for diesel or International diesel. So we got the big block Chevy block off plate. We got some fittings and hose clamps. And then I've got a thing of hose here too. And then we've got the instructions up here. Doubt we'll need those. So let's get started. So to get started, I just brought this pump up here and I looked at it, and it's the outlets on the top, inlets on the front, and I just started looking around at where made sense to put this, and I came up with right here, which gives me these two holes. Oops, there we go, that line up. If you see that, see those two holes? They actually work. I'm going to have to widen out the one on the left a little bit. Came in here with one of the junk drawers in the tool bus. And in this jar here I had some little screws or bolts and nuts that'll work. They're lock nuts. And so I found a drill bit. This is the size of those, so I'm going to go out and drill that out. Got that drilled out bigger for our little bolts. Alright, YouTube, so I got my little fittings put in there. Those are the angles I chose. Use a little bit of this Permatex thread sealant stuff. Hopefully no leaks. Alright, YouTube, so I got it mounted there. Got the lock nuts tightened up on that side. I really like the placement. I did end up turning this a little bit to better align with this, because I can just run it straight like that. Perfect. And that one's going to go out and to this. So you'll be able to get rid of that metal line that goes down to that one. So should work out real good. So the next step for me is going to be disconnecting from down here and pulling this line out and getting it connected to here. And then I'm going to figure out a line, you know, from the top of the pump over there. So, time to get that undone. There we go, got the first line ran. Took it out of all down there. Loose from right there. So now I've got to take loose that end and this end, and make a line from there over to there. So I got a line made across there. I went ahead and cut this so I could loosen it up here. And now I'm loosening it down here to get those off. And I cut it because I just don't care about it. It's junk to me. It's going straight in the garbage. But got those bolts taken out. I'm going to go ahead and get the pump taken out. So in order to mount that block off plate, I had to take the tips off of these bolts because they were a little bit too long. So I used a grinder, cut them off. Hopefully they'll tighten up all the way now, because the fuel pump was like, you know, the tabs where it mounted was like this thick. The block off plate's only about this thick. And the holes that these go into are not a blind hole. They got an end to them, so they can only go so deep. So I pre-lubed the gasket with a little bit of clean oil. Just nice thin coat on both sides. Tighten it up on there. Hopefully that gets it to stay sealed. That's what I was taught with motorcycles. It always worked. Don't know about these engines. Didn't look it up. Just assumed that the same procedure that I've always used on motorcycles would probably work. So that's blocked off. Got our fuel lines all routed and connected. Now we just got to run power to this, and it should be working. But before I hook up power, I'll probably prime it, put some fluid in there so that it doesn't run the pump dry. Not sure how many steps I forgot to record, but once we got that in, we found a place for our relay, and I just found a bolt that was already on the firewall, but it was too far out, so I had to cut it down with the grinder, and so that I could get it tight enough. And so this would pop over, see that, because the bolt's on that side. Then I ran the blue down and round into the positive of my pump. Right there, I got it just kind of looped there and connected. And in the negative to my pump, I put one of these guys on, kind of grinded a little bit on that hole, and now I've got a little bolt and nut. I'm going to tighten that up so that I'll have ground. So it looks like I forgot to hit record on a little piece of this, but where I just did the ground, it wasn't a ground because it looks like the front of my truck, the core support, radiator, all that is rubber mounted, and so there's no ground up there where I grounded, so I had to run a different line or wire to get ground up there to my core support. Alright, YouTube, so once I got a ground for that ran, I just brought it up to the same spot that I grounded this. Then the red, I needed to get power. I went to where the alternator is because that's a nice fat one line that goes straight to the battery, so there's power. And in the on and off, I went in to my plug right there, which that green and red, that one's to turn the alternator on. It's to give it a little bit of power to energize or whatever when it comes on. So I went ahead and just connected in there because I knew that one came on and off with a key. And then I tried the key. I pre-primed this, got that to fill up, got it flowing, and then yeah, so I know that's pre-primed, that's working whenever I turn on the key. So now I gotta go in the truck and we'll turn on the key, we'll get it on, and we'll see if we can start this. So there's my install, guys. So that's the trigger on and off. That comes on and off with my key. This is always powered, which there's already a fat line going, or wire going to the alternator. So that's plenty of power for it. A little relay. Got it all mounted. So let's go ahead and jump in the truck and see how this thing starts up these days. And before, is what my problem was with this thing is I would start it and then it would die. So it would be running for about, a second, and then it would just die. And I'd crank, and to try to get fuel back in because it would drain off, There was a leak. It was air intrusion, is what it's called on these old IDIs. But, okay, so let's go ahead and get the key on. You hear that ticking? That's it. So let's let the glow plug light go. And then we'll give it a crank. There you are. Didn't die. Call that successful, guys. Feels like the throttle response is a little quicker too. There's not quite as much of a drag or lag. Anyways, until next time, believe in what God gave you guys. Know that you guys can get on this project too. It's starting to sprinkle and rain out here, so I'm going to wrap it up. Until next time, believe in what God gave you guys. Keep building shit.